I don't look like a US senator. I hear it all the time. So what do I look like? I look like an athlete, a trailblazer, like perseverance,
24,500 feet,
grit, courage, and resilience. I look fear in the face, and I do it anyway. I look like a problem solver, an odds defier, a record setter, and change maker. I look for barriers, and then I break them. I look like an advocate.
How many of you love breathing clean air?
A unifier, a testifier, a listener, and a leader.
I'm Caroline Gleich. I'm a professional ski mountaineer and candidate for United States Senate.
I look like an unstoppable, unbreakable force of nature. Every mountain I've climbed, every obstacle I've overcome has taught me we define what's possible. You sure I don't look like a senator?
What an incredible introduction to a very truly unique candidate for office. You know, Mitt Romney announced his retirement, creating a rare open seat in Utah. It's attracted a number of first-time candidates, including the woman you just saw just now, Caroline Gleich. She's really well known in outdoor circles. She's been a skier, a mountain skier. She summited Mount Everest with a torn ACL. She's the first woman to complete the entire shooting gallery, which is a steep skiing guidebook of the Wasatch Mountains, and many more accomplishments. And now she's decided to take on one of the biggest mountain climbs you can imagine, running for the United States Senate in Utah. I saw that ad a couple of weeks ago, and I just had to get her into the hot seat to have a conversation with her. I am Fred Wellman, host of On Democracy with FP Wellman, right here on the MeidasTouch Network, and this is In the Hot Seat with Caroline Gleich. Caroline, man, it's so great to connect with you. I just showed your video, your kickoff video, which blew my mind when I saw it a couple of weeks ago. You're out the gate strong, getting ready for the Democratic Convention, I think, in the next couple of weeks in Utah. Welcome to the MeidasTouch Network.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for this essential work that you're doing, helping to educate the public about different candidates and holding our elected officials accountable. It's people like you who keep democracy functioning by this work. So thank you very much.
I really appreciate that. It's a fun job. I get to meet cool people. That's why I do it. So, you know, you are not your typical candidate, which is what your ad talks about, right? You're a mountaineer, a skier, you know, an activist. You've never run for office before. You've skied down mountains. You've broken your body a couple of times. I've seen the videos. What drives somebody like you to run for office and run for Senate as your first race? Tell us why you're running.
Yeah, I mean, I like doing hard and sometimes painful things. I think there's just part of me that's a glutton for punishment as an endurance athlete. You know, I love running ultra marathons. I love doing these things that bring out something inside of you that you never knew you had. When you set a big goal like this, it's amazing. Like, it's not just you too, it's everybody around you, and how people just come out of the woodwork, and it's a really beautiful expression of the human spirit. And so I have taken on big, hairy projects before, and I'm really excited for my next one, this race for United States Senate.
And so, as you were looking at, you know, the seat came open. Mitt Romney's leaving. You know, you're younger than your average candidate. I mean, as you sat there in your house that day, deciding to run, what is it made you make this step up?
I was really inspired by Senator Romney's call for the next generation of leaders to step up. Okay. That was part of the reason that he announced that he's 77 or 78. So he was like, if I run again, and he would probably get elected, because he demonstrated great courage and bravery. And I really came to respect him as a senator for Utah during his last term. I mean, I don't agree with him on everything, but I appreciate someone that has courage and is willing to go against the grain and to do what's right for Utah and for America. So I really look up to Senator Romney a lot. I appreciate his call for the next generation of leaders to step up. And I thought, as a millennial, like, we're frustrated. I mean, Americans in general, we're all really frustrated with Congress and with our elected officials in general. And instead of waiting for somebody to save us, the person who's going to save us is us. Like, we need to step up. We need to do it. When women often wait until they're overqualified to apply for things, till they're over 100% qualified to apply for a
Yeah.
job, whereas men apply when they're 60% qualified. And as the Constitution's very clear about what the requirements are, and I think that whatever your background or experience, our government and our country needs you. Whether you're a full-time stay-at-home parent, a home production specialist, or you're a teacher or a child care worker, or whatever you do, your experience is necessary and needed, and you should run for office too. So I really hope to inspire not only other young people, more women to run. And the other thing that's really interesting is that I'm 38, which is the average age of America. The average
Yeah.
age of Utah is the youngest state and it's the fastest growing state. So the
Wow.
average age of Utah is 30, and the average age of the United States Senate is 68 years old. And I'm all about respecting the leadership and wisdom of the older generation. Like my dad is 92. He was born in 1931. He has been a huge mentor and role model, and I love listening and learning from his stories about serving in the Korea War he was a flight surgeon, and he was born in the Great Depression. Like there's a lot we can learn by listening to the older generations.
Yeah.
However, I feel right now they're a bit overrepresented in Congress and especially in the Senate, and that we make the best decisions when we have a diversity of age and opinions and people from different backgrounds. And we really need people who are advocating for issues that are affecting youth right now. So
I
I'm
love it.
excited to help bring that voice.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I mean, and it's that old saying, if not me, then who? And so it matters you're stepping up. So, and I work with a lot of young voter groups and all, Gen Zs and others. So it's really great to see the generation stepping up. And it's a beautiful state. I've spent some quality time there myself in Park City during the campaign and other, and it's a growing state. As you said, it's young, it's gorgeous. A lot of people from the outside see it as a deeply red state. They wonder, if you had the chance to shake things up, what drives you to think this cycle might be different? What gives you a chance?
Utah's never seen a candidate like me before. So I'm excited to bring a different style of leadership and a
Yeah.
different kind of leader to represent Utah in the United States Senate. But Utah in the last election, a lot of it, because they're really against Trump. We made a lot of progress in taking Utah blue in the last election. And there are a lot of new people moving in. And so I think between the independent spirit of people here and their frustration with MAGA Republicans and just the growing hatred, vitriol on the extremist side. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not who we are as Utahns, and that is
No.
not who we are as Americans. Like, I've traveled across the state. People here are loving, caring, they're kind, they're inclusive. This is a state that was settled by people who are fleeing religious persecution. And so we are a lot more tolerant and open-minded. And I was really encouraged too by Nikki Haley's results in the Republican primary. She won more votes than any other state except for Vermont, she had a lot of traction here. And so it's clear that Utahns are hungry for a different kind of leadership. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to go travel around the state, explain the shared values that we have, because really a lot of the values that I'm advocating for are Utah values and family values. And so I'm excited to sit down with people, meet with them, and show them that the Democratic name next to mine is not a scary thing. It's not something to be afraid of, that we have a lot more in common.
And we truly do. National polls are showing. For example, let's pick a lot of issues. What's a big issue right now, of course, is women's reproductive rights. Even in states that are considered conservative, the majority of citizens believe that women should have some choice. They should control their reproductive health care. Now, Utah, I know, right now has 18 weeks, but they did pass a law basically outlawing abortion almost completely. That's being fought in the courts. Obviously, the ruling in Alabama about fetal personhood or whatever they call it, and almost outlawing IVF. It's a big issue. Obviously, young people want to have families. The IVF's been a big part of that. I imagine that's going to be, even in Utah, that's going to be on the ballot. Whether we like it or not, women's reproductive rights are on every single ballot, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's not just a women's issue. This is a family issue. This is an issue of giving people the freedom to decide when and how they want to start a family. And 1 in 8 families uses IVF and assisted reproductive technology to start their families. And for me, this is really personal because a year and a half ago, I decided to freeze my eggs and embryos with my partner to give us these choices and to give us more opportunities in the future. And the government, to me, I get so tired of these things, these freedoms, they should be protected. We have to codify Roe versus Wade, and we've got to get the government back on track to the issues that really matter, that affect our everyday lives, and to get them out, to stop creeping around our doctor's appointments. Like their obsession with this issue is frankly, I find it so creepy and disturbing. And Utah women, Utah families, they are tired of being political pawns in these increasingly extreme games.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's absolutely it. And it is. It is. It's like Senator Warnock said when he ran. I was in Georgia for one of his speeches. He goes, "There's no room in a doctor's office for a woman, her doctor, a lawyer, and the government. There just isn't." And especially you talk about having children. I mean, I think that's what's the shockwaves are going across the country when we see people who've been using this modern technology. And we are talking about modern healthcare at the end, right? I mean, it is a denial of modern healthcare, and I can't imagine anyone wants that. You said something interesting too, is about that Utahns are tired of the controversy. They're tired of the anger. Obviously, Mike Lee is the current senior senator. Based Mike Lee, his ridiculous Twitter. You've got one of these angertainment kind of senators already. A candidate like you might bring something different to that, but we are fighting for our democracy. Lee was involved in January 6th. He's a big election denier. Democracy in many ways is under assault across our country. I understand, that I think I heard that Utah is the only like red state that has universal mail-in voting right now, right? Which is incredible. Which is a really wonderful tool for democracy. How do you see this fight for our democracy, this moment? I mean, and do you see that as a major priority for you as we look at what's coming this way?
Yeah, defending democracy, ensuring that every American can use government as a problem-solving tool, and getting the federal government to work, that is really important. And
Yeah,
I'm very motivated by getting somebody like Mike Lee out of the Senate because
yeah,
he's the kind of person who is just against everything the federal government does. They're about and working as an environmental advocate during the Obama, the Trump, and now the Biden administrations, I've seen how once some of these federal institutions are undone and dismantled, that it's really hard to put them back together. And when I went to our big federal agencies, to the Department of the Interior, for example, during the Obama administration and then during the Trump administration, I mean, it was like a ghost town during the Trump administration. There was nobody working there, and the few people who were completely unqualified to be in the positions that they were working in. And these are hundreds of millions of acres of American land, especially in the Western states that the Department of the Interior oversees. And
yeah,
so once you unravel these institutions like the Department of the Interior and the FDA, when you defund them, it's really hard to bring them back. And then it's just all the things that make America great unravel. And so I would really like to, as a mountaineer, I've had the opportunity to travel to countries across the world, and I've seen other forms of governance. And well, democracy can be messy, and it can be challenging, and it can be time consuming and difficult, and oftentimes painfully slow. It is one of the best forms of governance that I've seen out there in the world, and we need to fight to protect it because it takes only one generation to lose it. And I'm deeply afraid that we are going to lose what makes our country what it is.
yeah. And you look at this Project 2025 plan that's been floating out there. It is exactly what you just talked about. It's worse than it was last time. They're going to infect these agencies with MAGA acolytes or really who want to dismantle these agencies. So it's a big fight. Well, I'm thrilled to hear you're in those fights, and I love the point you made about these agencies. That is part of our democracy and our government. It protects our country, protects people's rights, it protects our natural wonders that we have so much of in Utah. Big five, I think Big Five national parks. I mean, it's just an amazing state, and it'll be a wonderful opportunity to represent. And since that's your chance, that's what you want. How can people find out more about you? Where can they find you on the web? If they can throw you some money so you can put up a good fight, maybe the Midas money can come through for you. So where do we find you, Caroline?
Yes, check out carolineforutah.com. And if you can, share the website, chip in a couple dollars as a first-time candidate running for a U.S. Senate seat. This is a huge mountain to climb, but that's great for me because climbing mountains is what I do. I love just putting my head down, putting one foot in front of the other, building these coalitions, and We have been overwhelmed by the outpouring of support, not just in Utah, but across America, and even getting messages of support from people around the world who are watching this candidacy. They're cheering us on, they're up behind us, and they are excited for a new generation of leaders to step up. So, Caroline, FOR Utah, CarolineForUtah.com. Thank you so much.
Well, fantastic. Man, it was great meeting you finally. I appreciate you taking time for me. I know it's busy. There's nothing easy about a Senate campaign. So best of luck to you. I hope you'll stay in touch, and thanks for joining the Midas Mighty.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Man, another great in the hot seat conversation. As you can see, we've got some incredible candidates running out there, and some you haven't heard of. Caroline's obviously a really cool candidate, a millennial, a mountaineer. I hope you'll support her. Check out her website, maybe give her a couple bucks. In the meantime, right here, leave a comment, leave a like. We'll have more of these conversations. And in the meantime, check out new shows of On Democracy, the FU Element every Friday night right here in the MeidasTouch Network. I hope you'll come see us. In the meantime, keep up the fight for our democracy. I'm glad to have you in the fight with me.